I want to start with a statistic that is, it's pretty sobering, actually. In Haiti, only about 60% of people have access to safe drinking water.
And it gets worse.
It does. You go into the rural areas, and that number just plummets to 40%. That's a massive, massive gap.
It is. And, when you hear numbers like that, the conversation usually goes straight to foreign aid, to charity.
Right.
But the sources we're digging into today, they're telling a very different story. They frame Haiti less as a crisis and more as a kind of laboratory for off-grid innovation.
A laboratory. Okay, because the context here is just, it's brutal. You've got grid failure. You have fuel blockades, political instability. You can't just build a traditional utility.
Exactly. If the state infrastructure isn't there, you have to build something that doesn't need it. So we're seeing this real shift to decentralized solar and some really clever new ways of financing it all.
So let's jump into the first big example, DloHaiti. It seems like they looked at the old model, one giant bottling plant, trucks everywhere, and saw it as a huge liability.
A single point of failure. If the roads are blocked, you're done. So DloHaiti just flipped that model completely.
How so?
They built a network of what they call micro-utilities. So just picture a small solar-powered kiosk right there in a village. It pulls up local groundwater and treats it on site.
With some pretty heavy-duty tech, right? Reverse osmosis.
Yeah, reverse osmosis, UV filtration, the kind of stuff that usually takes a lot of power. But because they're running about 70% on solar, they're not hooked into that fragile national grid.
And I imagine that independence from the grid and from diesel generators, that has to affect the price.
Oh, it's a total game changer. They sell their water, the Ova brand, for about 40 cents per 5-gallon jug.
Wow. And what's the alternative?
The alternative is water trucked in from the city, which can cost around $1.25. So they're completely undercutting the market by getting rid of the logistics.
Okay, but there's still a last mile problem, right? You have the kiosk, but your customer might live, say, 10 kilometers away.
They do. And this is the other really smart part. DloHaiti built this whole network of over 500 local entrepreneurs.
Ah, like a gig economy for water.
Exactly. Retailers, delivery agents on bikes. They take the water from the kiosk and get it to people's homes. So you're not just selling water, you're creating local jobs.
But scaling that kind of hardware business, that's expensive. You need to buy the pumps, the panels.
And that's where the story gets really interesting. The founder, Jim Chu, he hit a brick wall. He couldn't get a traditional bank loan.
Of course not. Banks look at the volatility in Haiti and just run the other way.
They do. So he actually had to invent a solution. He started a whole other company, Untapped Global, to solve his own financing problem.
And their model is called smart asset financing. What does that mean in practice?
Okay, so think of it this way. A normal loan, you have to pay back a fixed amount every month, right? Doesn't matter if you had a great month or a terrible one.
Which is a killer if there's a hurricane or a blockade and your sales drop to zero.
Precisely. With this model, investors don't lend you cash. They finance the actual asset, the water pump, the solar panel, and they get paid back with a share of the revenue that asset generates.
So if sales are low, the payment is low, the risk is shared.
The risk is shared, and if sales are high, the investor gets paid back even faster.
But wait, how does an investor in, say, London know how much water a kiosk in rural Haiti actually sold? That sounds like it requires a lot of trust.
That's the smart part of it. They use IoT Internet of Things sensors right on the machines.
So the pump basically reports its own sales data.
In real time. It reports water flow, revenue, everything. It creates total transparency and de-risks the whole investment. It's fascinating.
That is fascinating. Now, before we wrap up, it's not just the startups, is it? The sources say the big established players are also being forced to adapt.
They are. You have to look at Caribbean bottling companies, CBC. They're the local Culligan bottler. They're the oldest, biggest player in the game. An incumbent.
And they just got a big, a $5 million investment from the IFC to upgrade their plants?
Yep. And the headline wasn't just about faster bottling lines. The real story was that they're switching to solar power.
For them, it's a resilience play, right? I'm thinking of that 2022 fuel blockade.
It's pure survival. During that blockade, gangs controlled the fuel terminals. If your factory runs on diesel, you shut down, period. For CBC, solar isn't an environmental choice. It's a business continuity strategy.
So you have the startup, DloHaiti, using solar to be agile and cheap, and you have the giant CBC using it to be bulletproof.
It's a convergence, and that's really the main takeaway here. In a place like Haiti, in any fragile state, resilience is the business model. You can't separate them.
Which leaves us with a pretty provocative final thought. We tend to see these places as being behind on infrastructure. But maybe, just maybe, these decentralized solar-powered systems aren't a temporary fix. Maybe they're the blueprint for what utilities will need to look like everywhere.
Something to think about for sure.
Definitely. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Thank you for listening to Mission Possible, innovating for the world's most marginalized. This podcast is built on the outstanding work of our students, whose curiosity and commitment drive much of the research and storytelling you hear. Each episode is grounded in academic research and shaped through close collaboration with our partners. To learn more about the research and partnerships behind this podcast, feel free to contact us. Thank you for joining.